Welcome to Brampton Focus. Brampton is considered one of the top 10 cities in North America for friendliness and business connectivity. Standard & Poor's states that Brampton is well positioned to be a strong force in business development and economic investment, all the things that are necessary to propel a city to greatness. My name is Michael Gyovai. Next, you're going to meet Badar Shamim, the incoming president of the Brampton Board of Trade, right here on Brampton Focus. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. My next guest is a graduate from Brock University from the Honors BA program. Badar has been employed with the TD Bank for over 18 years. He's a certified financial planner, CFP I should say, and holds the investment manager designate from the Canadian Securities Institute. In addition, over the past 10 years, Badar has served as a past director and treasurer of the Rotary Club of Brampton, as well as a past chair of the Brampton Board of Trade's Multicultural Committee. Badar Shamim is the next chairman and the president of the Brampton Board of Trade. Welcome, Badar. And also we'd like to welcome Mike Gyovai from Brampton Focus. Tremendous to have you here. Thank you for being here with us on Brampton Focus. Your successor, Jay Paul, we had the opportunity to speak to him earlier, and he spoke very highly of you. Now you are being parachuted into this position after a first year with a new mayor, a first year with a new president of the Brampton Board of Trade, and now here we have the pleasure of having you here as you take over. What are some of the things that you want to change? Is there anything you want to change right off the bat as you take the role of president to guide the Brampton Board of Trade to success?
So I think it's hardly being parachuted. Having said the fact that I've volunteered for the organization for the past 10 years, a number of initiatives that we've been working are actually just a continuation of what we've been doing over the years. As you can imagine, organizations like municipal chambers don't really turn on a dime and change the direction they've been going in. Jay Paul has done an amazing job as our outgoing chair, and will continue to actually do a great job as our past chair on our board on a number of initiatives, diversity and inclusion being one of them, international trade being another. Having to deal with a lot of advocacy-related issues as it relates to municipal and provincial politics. He has spent a lot of time and energy, and we're grateful for him to do that. From a succession planning standpoint, the way we operate, we always have somebody in the tow, more or less doing the same, and being groomed for the year after. We've already got another person lined up after me, and so as you can tell, we'll probably continue to champion a lot of issues that I've been talking about.
So I should correct myself. I didn't mean the word parachute as in dropped in, and I appreciate that. So I was just going to let you go on that. It wasn't meant in that respect. It is a challenging position, though, because you're integrating. I mean, you have over 24,000 members. You have to deal with a council. You have to deal with a mayor. You have to deal with certain things that your business community wants to get achieved, because you basically are the cheerleader, if I can use that example, at the head of the parade, leading Brampton business to success. Is there one thing that you want to get achieved in your tenure?
So since 2007 and 8, I think one thing that has changed the global economic landscape is the level of coordination that's taking place now on global finance. So you've probably heard the term G20 being thrown around a lot. Mm-hmm. If you actually haven't been following the G20 as a influential group on global economics, pretty much everything from global inflation to global growth is being managed and coordinated at that level to a certain extent. It's not a precise science, but that's the reality of it. And I think municipal chambers have actually some catching up to do on that front, in that we've been so focused on actually representing the business community with local stakeholders that we perhaps hasn't done as much as we should have on the international side of things.
Interesting. I throw it over to Mike Gyovai from Brampton Focus.
Just to touch on more with the G20 in that kind of relations, do you see the Brampton Board of Trade moving forward with a strong relationship with the Ontario Chambers? You know, we want to make sure that as ventures are coming in through international or even domestic investments, that Brampton is in tune and in line with what's happening with the province. Is that
Mike? You're bang on. That's the only way we can be. So, having done some due diligence overseas on behalf of our chambers, as you guys probably know, we were in Turkey twice last year. I was in India earlier this year. if you're visiting the city of New Delhi, their chamber alone has 20,000 members. When you're in Turkey and you're visiting the Chamber of Commerce, Commerce and Industry in Istanbul, it's bigger than our collective membership in the province of Ontario. So when it comes to competing in international markets, you have to operate as regions. So I'm really delighted that the city has actually put some money aside in the coming year's budget for supporting the new corp that will replace Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance. That's supposed to actually represent the GTHA municipalities at the international level from an FDI attraction, foreign direct investment attraction perspective. And we'll continue to basically quarterback that relationship with our regional partners through municipal chambers, as well as New Corp or Toronto Health being another organization.
The previous regime, and still to this day, we have many trips of many representatives from business going overseas. Has there been any traction? I mean, we always get, and no offense, I mean, we always get, why would you say it was a lousy trip, we didn't get anything? No one would say that. But when do we start to see some tangible results of some deals that are actually being done, where we can actually see some rubber hitting the road?
So we already have done some deals as a result of, I assume you're talking about the cities'
Yes.
trade missions that were taken over the number of years. I don't think that those trips were as controversial as they were. As a matter of fact, I think the reporting aspect of it probably wasn't communicated as well as it should have been. There is a competitive nature to attracting FDI. If I am in India, in the city of Gujarat, and I'm talking to a pharmaceutical company, which I did in my trip in January, and I want them to take a look at Brampton.
And the ties are hard and fast to the region appeal, particularly in Brampton.
Exactly, but if we're trying to attract that business to come and set up a base here in Brampton, I am actually not going to public and say, you know, here I am visiting this company, meeting their senior management because I'm interested in attracting. If I'm doing that, you better believe Markham will be doing the same thing. Kitchener-Waterloo will be doing the same thing. Anybody that is focused on biotech as a sector would be right after that business if I let that out.
So is the investment still worth it of sending our trade commissions over there?
Absolutely. Because if you don't, quite frankly, nobody will know about your municipality, and everybody will be talking to the folks from Markham or Mississauga or Kitchener-Waterloo or wherever.
With about a minute and 15 left, is there one particular thing, before we finish this segment, is there one particular thing, Badar, that you want to get accomplished that maybe was not brought to the fore in regimes past? From a Brampton Board of Trade perspective.
No, so I wouldn't say that. I mean, here we can probably have a little bit more emphasis, for instance, in my year on international trade and geoeconomics as compared to previous years. But I think we want to hit on all the matrices. We want to make sure that we're getting in front of our SME sector. We want to make sure that we're engaging, we're being gender neutral. We're engaging the women entrepreneurs and business owners. We want to make sure that we have a balance between the SME sector and the medium to large size businesses. Diversity and inclusion is going to remain a big focus, and as I said, I'm hoping that our past chair will continue to play an active role.
Your past chair will play a role, and you will guide us on as we conclude our first segment. We're sitting and talking to Badar Shamim. He is the incoming chairman of the Brampton Board of Trade. My name is Michael Charbon. You're watching Brampton Focus. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. We're talking to Badar Shamim, who is the incoming president of the Brampton Board of Trade, and as well Mr. Mike Gyovai from Brampton Focus. We had an opportunity earlier, Badar, to speak to Madam Mayor Linda Jeffrey with regards to taxes and a bunch of initiatives. And one of the things that Madam Mayor Jeffrey talked about was an infrastructure levy, which is an extra 2% on the taxes. Because, I mean, it's pretty evident we need to put some money aside in reserves to take care of our infrastructure. Do you look at that 2% as an added tax to the folks in Brampton as a negative? Is it going to affect business negatively, or is it something? Is it a pill that we just have to swallow because it is what it is?
So, Mike, I went to City Council actually about a week ago as a deputation on behalf of our chamber to provide some input on the upcoming budget. There's a list of things that we want the city to work on. The McCarter report that came out clearly identified infrastructure deficit as a big issue for the city of Brampton. And that's something that the Chamber would like to see the city address. So I'm cognizant of the fact that given the reality that they have to do some catching up to do, the total tax that is being introduced in 2016, including the levy, would be about 4.9%, and it's way above inflation rate and what we would like to see as long-term average increase in
As a
in tax
businessman,
rates.
does that scare you?
It doesn't scare me, but it concerns me. I wouldn't want to see that on an ongoing basis as a one-off thing. I can tolerate that, but that was our comment to the City Council, that ideally speaking, we would like to stay as close to the inflation rate as possible.
Yeah.
It's not something that we want to see on a regular basis.
Michael Gyovai, Brampton Focus.
One of the recommendations I really liked was the fact that the Board of Trade is wanting to see an expedite of debt financing to ensure that we're building our transit and infrastructure. As the municipalities around us are growing and are connecting, your Torontos, your Kitcheners, what can the Board of Trade do to help the city ensure that we're keeping our talented, skilled workers, and making Brampton a place that people want to come to, not only for business, but for tourism, sport, to ensure that we're getting our fair share of exposure and the mighty dollar.
So, Mike, I'm going to fine-tune that comment just a tad bit.
Okay.
I don't want to come across, or Brampton Board of Trade should not come across as an organization that's encouraging our municipality to go out and take over too much debt. In finance, we use terms of national finance, we use terms such as debt to GDP ratio. So debt taken to improve economic activity and economic growth in a measurable way is a good tool to manage growth. Historically speaking, every dollar spent on infrastructure does generate $3 worth of economic activity. And so in that context, we're comfortable with the city actually leveraging debt to grow. In terms of retaining talent, job creation, investment attraction, all of this ties in. So whether we work with the different levels of the government to work on the infrastructure and attract businesses to Brampton, or whether we go out of our jurisdictions and attract larger corporations to create jobs for our youth, either ways, we need to create jobs. That's a big issue for our municipality.
When we talk about tools, I love the way municipalities and those who formulate the budgets always talk about tools. I mean, that was one of those tools with the infrastructure levy of 2%. Another one of those tools is one that Toronto is using, and that's with the land transfer tax. You have the Ontario land transfer tax, which is 2%, and they said that the average house in the GTA is $700,000. So you're looking at a $14,000 tax at 2%. If you live in Toronto, they add an added 2%. The Toronto land transfer tax, which means in a $700,000 house, you're paying $28,000 in land transfer tax. Now, there are some municipal mayors who have suggested that this is a tool that they would like to use other than taxes to generate money to help fund the municipality. What's your position on that? And by the way, Madam Mayor Elena Jeffrey says she will not implement that in Brampton, so we don't want to scare anybody. But there may be other municipalities who are considering that. But just from a business standpoint, what's Brampton Board of Trade?
So I'm glad that she's on the record for saying that the city does not want to move in that direction. As a chair of our local chamber, I would echo that sentiment. Going back to the fact that we want to attract investment into our municipality, we want to deter people away thinking that they're going to have to pay too much to invest in our real estate. Real estate has done very well for us. I think we want to complement a little bit of our residential investment with some commercial industrial investment, going back to my comments about attracting jobs through attracting corporations. And I think land transfer levies is just a bad idea.
Yeah.
With the missed opportunity of the LRT, Mississauga is clearly taking advantage of the building their infrastructure in their business sector. What can we do now? Because obviously we don't want to dwell on it. We need to move forward as a city. What does the Board of Trade see as the vision over the next 3-5 years?
We're going to have to deal with the congestion on our roads. GTA as a region is losing approximately $6 billion worth of productivity a year because of gridlocks we're dealing with. Although the chamber took the position, and we continue to stand by it, that LRT expansion onto Main Street would have created jobs, would have been good for our economy, and from that standpoint, it's a lost opportunity. I'm glad that the comments that have come out of City Hall and City Council of late are that they want to revisit with a revised.
But the $400 million, Badar, has, as they say, the horses have left the barn.
Yes.
There is some motion saying that some of the money has already been scooped up by Toronto, and that there was a motion passed that they won't revisit it. I mean, as a businessman and as someone who saw what that was, there was $400 million worth of investment. Go and talk to the folks in Mississauga and ask them where all the proposed stops are, what has happened to their real estate, and what has happened to business. And that is a catastrophic mistake. Would you not consider that?
The north-south corridors, transit corridors between Brampton and Mississauga will have to develop sooner or later. All we have done here, in my opinion, is just delayed that development a little bit. So whether we start now with Queen Corridor, east-west, and then work backwards to north-south, one way or the other, we're going to have to go back to it. So from that standpoint, yeah, it is a lost opportunity. It just puts us back by a few years.
With about a minute left, one thing that Madam Mayor Linda Jeffries said was that the all-day, two-day go element, and now with the Zoom bus, that is one good thing.
Yes, indeed it is, and I'm really glad that she championed that right off the bat, and the province came through it, and will continue to actually build on that frequency. So from that standpoint, some of it will alleviate, that will help with the alleviation of some of the gridlock that we're facing, but we're going to have to go back to actually looking at mass transit and LRT issues sooner or later.
We're speaking to Mr. Badar Shamim. He is the new Brampton Board of Trade president. When we come back for our final segment, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming in 2016. What is the future for Brampton? What are some of the initiatives that they're going to look at? And how can we make the city better using the power and industry and businesses that exist in Brampton to push the city forward? My name is Michael Gyovai. You're watching Brampton Focus. We'll be back with lots more right after this. Welcome back to Brampton Focus. My name is Michael Gyovai. We're talking to Badar Shamim, who is the incoming president of the Brampton Board of Trade, and Mr. Mike Gyovai from Brampton Focus.
So my question is a simple one. I've heard you say many times, growth for compassion, ensuring that we have inclusiveness within our city. I'd like to know what you want to do over the next year to ensure that, as a city of over 60% immigrants, what are we going to do to ensure that we're a united front and moving forward together?
So my growth with compassion to me simply means that even in business community, there has to be a component that's more heart. Okay. We are a big community. We're 600,000 people, as you said, representing 200 different ethnicity, 89 different dialects are spoken every day in this city. We have a very proud legacy. Brampton Board of Trade itself is about a 130-year-old organization. As it grows, we simply need to take that legacy and build upon it, which means we're not going to let go of who we used to be. We're going to continue to celebrate who you used to be, and we're going to remember it. But at the same time, we're going to encompass and incorporate a lot of what New Brampton has to offer, and especially what the business community has to offer. Okay. So we will grow, and with compassion, meaning that we're going to be inclusive of everybody in this community and represent the community collectively.
What would you like to see your legacy be? So if you could pick out right now and say, you know what, next year when I'm doing my out interview with Brampton Focus, this is what I want to be seen as for Mike's society.
So chambers are known for doing two things: facilitating networking and encouraging business community to support each other, and being their champions on the advocacy front. And quite frankly, I would like to leave the year knowing that we've made a difference in the city by either helping attract some investment, making a big difference in terms of job creation, and creating an environment where every business owner feels included and feels like they're at home and they're being a part of this growth and success.
Well, as a small business owner, that's music to my ears, so I love that.
There are still some contingents within the constituency of Brampton that feel that there is unfettered growth. Too many houses, too fast. There's congestion. Two-lane highways supplying rural areas that have been developed with hundreds of houses that are being congested. Schools. There's so many services and so many considerations that there's still people who believe that is an underserviced area. As the incoming president of the Brampton Board of Trade, your job is to represent, yes, the businesses, but also the concerns of the people, because it is the people that power the business. How do you react to the comments of unfettered development and congestion and our streets and our fire department, etc.? How do you I mean, you're not a municipality, I get that, but how do you help to solve that problem?
So, you know what? It's a catch-22 situation. We could have built the infrastructure to cope with the growth. But at the same time, you need some funding to make that happen. Residential growth is important to sustain the business environment and business activity, and there's no question about it. So there's a business case to be made that residences had to grow in order for us to populate the community with businesses. And so I'm not going to dwell on the fact that there are people who think that we've had too much residential growth. I am going to, however, dwell on the fact that we need to now complement it with commercial industrial development. 60% of our labor force right now is commuting out of our city every day for jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 410, I mean, it's all going south in the morning and north in the evening. And the only one thing that I will say is now any developers who are putting in houses have to put all the water mains in first. They have to put all the street numbers in. And it's interesting, I was speaking to an official, let us say, of the municipal, and they said, do you know why we did that? First of all, it was for safety. They put the water in case anything got caught on fire, because it was a problem. But as soon as they have an address, they get to charge property tax.
Oh, there you go.
So if you were to look at something, we've just got about 2 minutes left now. If you were to speak to the folks at home, Badar, and give them an idea, we want to get more people to join the Brampton Board of Trade. We want them to be able to focus some of their comments and their ideas to your and your members, because it is through them that you have the ability to speak to the mayor and speak to council. What would you say to our folks at home that they can anticipate with your service in 2016 and the involvement of the Brampton Board of Trade to make Brampton a better place?
What I would say is this. Every organization that exists in the city of Brampton belongs to you. You're the residents, you're the business owners. Without your input and your involvement and your feedback, we can't execute on our mandates, whether it be on the municipal government side or on the chamber side or a service organization side. So the first part of our engagement has to be a dialogue. And for that, we obviously have to do a better job in reaching out to our business community members, and we will definitely do so. But at the same time, it's an open invitation to you, irrespective of what sector or what size of business you are. Reach out to us as well. Talk to us, tell us what you would like to see being done differently, and if we haven't already addressed it, we'll certainly take that into account.
You, as the Brampton Board of Trade, you put some recruiting targets out. You also made some serious suggestion you want concrete plans, and you want to be able to see some level of progress from the municipality. How close are you to getting those things published and getting them in an action mode?
So with the budget now coming out, I think on the planning side of things, we will have to revisit our ask with the municipality to see if they can provide us. But we're certainly going to stay on top of it. In the past, one of the challenges we have seen with our municipality is that either there was no planning to go after a specific funding program that was available for
direction,
or if there was funding available, we weren't ready to actually implement the plan, the project. So that needs to change.
It needs some change. Badar Shamim, thank you so much for being with us here at Brampton Focus. We look forward to sharing time with you again, and we appreciate all the work. Thank you to Mike Gyovai from Brampton Focus for joining us. It's folks like you, Badar, who make the difference, because you represent not only the businesses but the constituents in Brampton. So thank you so much for being here. My name is Michael Gyovai. You've been watching Brampton Focus. We'll be back with lots more and another time with another topic. Thanks for watching.